Hey everyone, welcome back. You know how we all struggle to stay consistent, especially when our motivation just takes a nosedive?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Well, get ready, because today we're diving deep into how to build that unshakable consistency.
It's a topic we get asked about all the time.
It really is. And you know how we always say that motivation is key?
Yeah.
Well, what if I told you that's not the whole story?
Whoa, hold on a second. Are you saying motivation isn't everything?
I think our listeners' ears just perked up.
It might sound surprising, but yeah, motivation isn't always enough. You see, motivation is unreliable. It's constantly changing.
Like the weather.
Exactly. You just can't build something solid on such a shaky foundation.
Okay, that makes sense. But if we can't rely on motivation, then what can we rely on?
Consistency. It's much more dependable. You can think of it like a muscle you can train.
I like the sound of that. So why does motivation tend to disappear, and how do we even start building this consistency muscle?
Well, think about it. Motivation is tied to our brain's reward system. When we start something new, we get a rush of dopamine.
That feel-good chemical.
Right. But here's the thing. Our brains are really smart. They adapt quickly.
So as the novelty wears off?
The dopamine rush fades away too. And suddenly that new project or that workout routine doesn't feel so exciting anymore.
So it's like our brain is playing tricks on us.
Kind of. It's all about survival. Our brains are wired to conserve energy.
So anything that doesn't seem rewarding or, life-threatening?
Gets pushed aside.
Exactly.
That explains a lot. So how do we actually escape this dopamine trap? How do we build that consistency muscle?
We are going to share 3 key steps. Start small, create a routine, and track your progress.
Let's start with starting small.
Right, starting small. What do you mean by that?
Instead of trying to change everything at once, focus on just one tiny habit.
So instead of aiming for an hour-long workout every day, maybe I just start with 10 minutes of walking.
Exactly. Make it so easy that you can't say no. Remember, we're training a muscle here. You wouldn't start weightlifting with the heaviest weights, right?
Oh, that's a good point. It's about setting ourselves up for success, not for failure. But how do we take those small wins and turn them into a long-term routine?
That's where our second step comes in creating a routine. We want to make these new habits as automatic as brushing our teeth.
So weaving them into our existing routines almost like they were always there.
Exactly. A good trick is to link your new habit to an existing one. For example, if you want to start meditating, try doing it right after you brush your teeth each morning.
You're piggybacking on an already established habit, making it harder to forget or skip the new one. That's smart.
And as you get comfortable with that habit, you can slowly increase the time or the intensity. Maybe you start with 5 minutes of meditation and then gradually work your way up to 10 or 15.
A gradual progression, not a sudden overhaul. I love it. But what about those times when we just feel like we're not making any progress?
That's where our third step comes in, tracking your progress. You probably heard the saying, what gets measured gets managed, right?
Yeah.
Well, the same applies to building consistency. Grab a journal, an app, a calendar, anything that works for you, and just track your small wins.
So even if it's just a check mark on a calendar, that visual representation can be motivating.
Absolutely. Think of it like a progress bar in a video game. Each small step fills up that bar a little bit more and keeps you motivated to reach the next level.
I'm really liking this action plan. Start small, create a routine, track your progress. It feels doable, almost exciting.
It is.
But I have to ask, is there like a deeper mindset shift we need to make to really embrace consistency?
Absolutely. While these practical steps are really important, true consistency requires us to change how we think. We need to move from being outcome-focused to embracing the process and actually shaping our identity. But we'll dive into that after a quick break. First, we want to encourage all of you listening on YouTube to like, subscribe, and share this episode with your friends. If you're listening on Instagram, Spotify, or TikTok, make sure you're following us so you don't miss any of our future deep dives. Now back to that mindset shift. It's not just about checking things off a list. It's about changing how we see consistency. It's a much deeper change.
I'm intrigued. How do we actually make that mental shift? What does it mean to move beyond just focusing on outcomes?
It starts with focusing on identity instead of outcomes. Instead of fixating on a result like losing 10 pounds or writing a book, we shift our focus to becoming the type of person who embodies that goal.
So instead of saying, I want to lose weight, I'd say, I'm someone who prioritizes their health.
Exactly. When your actions and your desired identity are aligned, consistency becomes less of a chore and more of an expression of who you are.
That's powerful. It's like you're embodying the change you want instead of chasing after a result.
Precisely. It's about becoming the artist, the athlete, the writer, whatever it is you want to be. And as you start acting in alignment with that identity, the results will just naturally follow.
It feels a lot more authentic, like it's coming from within you instead of being forced on you.
Absolutely. And this brings us to another important mindset shift, embracing imperfection. We have to let go of this idea that consistency equals perfection.
Because let's be honest, life happens.
Yeah,
There are days when we slip up, miss a workout, or eat that extra slice of cake.
exactly. And that's totally fine. Consistency isn't about never messing up. It's about having the resilience to get back on track after a stumble.
So it's more about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. Don't beat yourself up about slip-ups. Think of them as learning opportunities and just get back to your routine as soon as you can.
Treat ourselves with kindness and understanding. I like that. Recognizing that we're all a work in progress. No one's perfect.
No one is perfect. And finally, to truly embrace consistency, we need to commit to the process itself. We have to find joy in that daily journey, not just the destination.
So like falling in love with creating or learning or building something instead of obsessing over the end goal.
You got it. When you enjoy the process, consistency becomes effortless. It's not about forcing yourself. It's about showing up for something that you actually like.
That sounds so much more sustainable and fulfilling. We've talked about why motivation fades, our 3-step action plan for building consistency, and the importance of this mindset shift. But what does all this mean for our listeners? How can they use this?
You know, it really is a big change in thinking. When we let go of this need to be perfect and instead just focus on showing up consistently, even in small ways, we can make progress in ways we never thought possible. But there's more.
Feels like we're really talking about a different way to think about achieving our goals and growing as people.
It really is a whole new way of looking at it. When we let go of needing to be perfect and focus on just showing up consistently, even those small efforts add up to some incredible results.
Yeah, it sounds like we're moving away from these huge gestures or instant transformations, and instead we're tapping into the power of small, consistent actions.
Exactly. It's those everyday choices, those little steps that over time lead to big changes.
I love that. It's really empowering knowing that we can shape our lives through these consistent actions.
And the best part is that it's something everyone can do. No matter who you are, what your goals are, or where you're starting, consistency is a skill anyone can build.
It's about taking charge of our journeys one step at a time, one day at a time.
Absolutely. And as we become more consistent, we don't just achieve our goals, we also build self-confidence, resilience, and a real sense of accomplishment.
So we're not just changing our habits, we're changing our beliefs about what we're capable of.
Exactly. And that's what makes consistency such a powerful force.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into consistency, what's one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
I'd say this. Motivation might help you start, but consistency is what keeps you going. When you choose consistency, you're not just chasing a goal, you're building a solid base for a lifetime of success and fulfillment.
That's a really powerful reminder. Consistency is like a gift. We give ourselves a commitment to growing and feeling good.
Absolutely. It's about showing up for yourself even when things are tough and believing that those consistent little efforts will lead you to great places.
This has been such an insightful conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all of our amazing listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into consistency. We hope this has inspired you to really harness the power of consistency in your own lives. What's one tiny habit you can start today to get closer to the person you want to be? If you're on YouTube, give this video a like, subscribe to our channel, and share this episode with your friends. If you're listening on Instagram, Spotify, or TikTok, be sure to follow us for more deep dives into all sorts of interesting topics. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.